Motor vessel Toska. Motor vessel Toska. Vacate your engine room. Vacate your engine room. We're prepared to subject you to disabling fire.
U.S. just seized an Iranian ship. Now Iran says it will not come to Pakistan for talks. Picture this. It is Sunday in the Gulf of Oman. An Iranian cargo ship called the Tauska is moving fast, trying to slip past the American naval blockade. The USS Spruance, an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, fires on the Tauska's engine room. The ship stops. Within minutes, U.S. Marines are rappelling from MH-60 helicopters onto the deck of a foreign vessel in international waters, boarding it, seizing it, taking custody of it. The entire operation was filmed and posted publicly by the U.S. military. Today, Monday, April 20th, the ceasefire between the United States and Iran expires in less than 48 hours. Iran's foreign ministry just said there are no plans to send negotiators to Pakistan for peace talks. The U.S. negotiating team Vance, Witkoff, and Kushner is already on a plane heading to Islamabad right now to negotiate with a country that says it is not coming. Two-thirds of Americans disapprove of how Trump is handling this war. At least 3,375 people have been killed in Iran since the bombing started, including 383 children. And your gas is about to get more expensive starting tomorrow morning. Let me tell you exactly what happened and why the next 48 hours could determine whether this war restarts or ends. Let us go through exactly what happened with the Tauska, because this is the single event that has put the Pakistan peace talks in the most serious danger since they began. The Tauska is an Iranian-flagged cargo ship. It is also on the U.S. Treasury Department's sanctions list, flagged for links to Iran's shadow fleet that has been smuggling Iranian oil past international sanctions for years. On Sunday, the Tauska tried to run the American blockade in the Gulf of Oman. The USS Spruance, named after Admiral Raymond Spruance, who commanded American forces at the Battle of Midway in World War II, intercepted the vessel. Trump posted on Truth Social that the Spruance fired on the Tauska's engine room. A hole was blown in the ship. It stopped. U.S. Marines from the amphibious assault ship USS Tripoli then flew over in MH-60S helicopters, a navalized version of the Black Hawk you know from movies, and rappelled directly onto the Tauska's deck. The CENTCOM video shows them coming down the ropes and taking control of the vessel. The Tauska's crew, approximately 20 people, was on board. The ship was taken into custody. Iran's reaction was immediate. The foreign ministry called it a violation of the ceasefire, called it unlawful, called it a war crime, called it a crime against humanity, and said if this is how America behaves during a ceasefire, then there is nothing to negotiate in Pakistan. Now here is America's side of this, and it is not without logic. The Tauska was not just any ship. It was a sanctioned vessel, sanctioned by the U.S. Treasury, flagged for running Iranian oil past international sanctions. Basically a ship that America had already told the world was operating illegally before this war ever started. From Washington's perspective, seizing the Tauska was not a ceasefire violation. The blockade applies to all ships entering or departing Iranian ports. The Tauska was trying to do exactly that, bypass the blockade and keep Iran's oil revenue flowing. Without that oil revenue, Iran loses $435 million per day. With it, Iran can fund its military indefinitely and has zero economic pressure to make a deal. The blockade exists specifically to create the financial pressure that forces Iran to the negotiating table. Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz was Iran's weapon of economic warfare. The blockade is America's counterweapon. Trump said it plainly, you cannot blackmail the world with 20% of its oil supply. Two can play that game. The seizure of the Tauska was the blockade working exactly as designed. The message from Washington: there is no version of this where Iran keeps its oil money flowing while the world's oil stays blocked. Either everyone gets access or nobody does. And now Iran's side, because Iran's fury is not manufactured outrage. Iran made a specific argument this week that every American should understand before forming an opinion. Here is what Iran says happened in sequence. Iran opened the Strait of Hormuz on Friday as a goodwill gesture, fulfilling what it understood as its ceasefire obligation. America kept the blockade running. Iran closed the strait again in response. America then seized an Iranian cargo ship. America then had the audacity to send its negotiating team to Pakistan while seizing Iranian property and maintaining a naval blockade on Iranian ports. Iran's foreign ministry spokesman said it directly. The U.S. lacks seriousness in pursuing a diplomatic process. And here is the line that should make every American pause. Iran's chief negotiator Ghalibaf said on state television, "It is impossible for others to pass through the Strait of Hormuz while we cannot." Think about that sentence for one moment. What Iran is saying is this: America is blockading Iranian ships. Iranian ships cannot move. Iranian cargo is being seized. But America wants Iranian cooperation to open a waterway that Iran uses as its only remaining economic leverage. That is not a negotiation. That is a demand for unconditional surrender. Whether you agree with Iran or not, understanding that framing is essential to understanding why the Pakistan talks are in danger right now. In the middle of all these negotiations and blockades and ship seizures, here is what is actually happening to real people. At least 3,375 people have been killed in Iran since the United States and Israel launched the war on February 28th. 383 of them were children under 18 years old. Schools have been hit. Hospitals have been hit. An elementary school in Manab was struck on the very first day of the war. 6 of the dead were gymnasts. Children. The Iranian Red Crescent has documented 65 schools and 32 medical facilities targeted since the war began. More than 10,000 civilian sites damaged. 13 American service members have been killed, including 6 soldiers who died in a drone attack at a Kuwait port on the first night. Their families are waiting for this war to end too. More than 20,000 seafarers, sailors from India, the Philippines, Indonesia, and dozens of other countries that have nothing to do with this war are trapped on ships in the Persian Gulf, unable to go home. These are not statistics. These are people whose lives are suspended while 2 governments argue about uranium enrichment timelines and who controls 34 kilometers of ocean. Every day this drags on costs real lives on both sides. And the children in Iranian schools did not vote for their supreme leader. And the American soldiers who died in Kuwait did not start this war. Both governments talk about national security and strategic interests. Neither one leads their press conferences with the children. Here is the almost absurd situation unfolding in Islamabad right now. Pakistan has locked down its capital again. Security checkpoints, closed roads. The Serena Hotel cleared of all other guests. 10,000 security personnel deployed. The entire apparatus of a diplomatic summit ready to go. And the country it is being prepared for has said it is not coming. The U.S. team is on a plane heading there anyway. Iran's foreign ministry says there are no plans for talks as of now. But here is the thing. Analysts are pointing to Iranian sources on Sunday indicated privately that a delegation, including Ghalibaf and Foreign Minister Araghchi, was expected in Pakistan on Tuesday. Iran has a pattern in this war of saying one thing publicly and doing another privately. Iran rejected a 4-5-day ceasefire publicly, then accepted a 2-week one. Iran said it would never negotiate directly, then sat across a table from Vance for 21 hours. Iran said the deal was dead after Vance left. Then its foreign minister spoke to Pakistan's foreign minister about the need for continued dialogue. Pakistan's foreign ministry confirmed that call happened Sunday. The gap between what Iran says publicly and what it does privately is where Pakistan's entire diplomatic strategy lives. Field Marshal Asim Munir, who Trump has called his favorite field marshal, spent 3 days in Tehran last week carrying a new American proposal. Iran said it received new proposals and was reviewing them. That review is still happening. The door is not closed. It is just making a lot of noise about being closed. While all of this is happening, Trump made his most extreme threat yet. He posted on Truth Social Sunday, "We are offering a very fair and reasonable deal, and I hope they take it, because if they do not, the United States is going to knock out every single power plant and every single bridge in Iran. Every single power plant. Every single bridge." Iran has a population of 85 million people. Destroying every power plant means no electricity for hospitals, no electricity for water treatment, no electricity for heating or cooling for civilians in summer heat. Military and legal experts have said repeatedly that deliberately targeting civilian infrastructure without military necessity could constitute a war crime under international law. The United Nations warned about this when Trump made a similar threat in early April. But Trump also said something else that matters. He hinted he might personally travel to Pakistan if his envoys get close to a deal. He said he does not think a ceasefire extension is likely. He said the ceasefire ends Wednesday evening. And he said the deal will happen one way or another, the nice way or the hard way. The nice way is Islamabad. The hard way is what the chairman of the Joint Chiefs described Thursday, ready to resume major combat operations at literally a moment's notice. 2/3 of Americans in a new poll disapprove of Trump's handling of this war. But Congress has voted 4 times to reject measures that would limit Trump's war powers. The bombs, if they come, will fall with full legal authority of the American presidency. Here is the number that makes this personal for every American watching. Gas was at $3.98 per gallon on Sunday, actually down slightly from last week, as the brief Hormuz opening on Friday gave markets hope. Patrick DeHaan, head of petroleum analysis at GasBuddy, posted, Sunday evening, 48 of the nation's 50 states have seen gas prices decline in the last week, with the national average down 9.5 cents to $3.98 per gallon. He said prices will start rising again as soon as Monday. Brent crude jumped 7% Sunday on the news. Iran closed Hormuz again. U.S. crude jumped 7%. That jump in oil markets does not hit your local gas station on Sunday. It hits it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as the ceasefire expires. As the possibility of resumed bombing creates more oil market uncertainty, Trump's energy secretary was asked this week how long it could take for gas prices to return to pre-war levels after a deal. He said it could take up to a year. Trump publicly called his own energy secretary totally wrong, but the market's assessment oil elevated through end of 2026, regardless of outcome, was not made up. Gas was $2.90 before February 28th. It is $3.98 today. That is more than $1 increase in 7 weeks. If the ceasefire expires Wednesday with no deal, every analyst agrees that number goes higher. How much higher depends entirely on what happens in Islamabad in the next 48 hours. Despite everything, here is why the deal is not dead yet. And here are the 4 specific things that could still save it in the next 48 hours. Thing 1. Iran's private signals contradict its public statements. Iranian sources told journalists Sunday that a delegation was expected in Pakistan Tuesday. Araghchi spoke to Pakistan's foreign minister Sunday about the need for continued dialogue. Iran received new American proposals from Asim Munir's Tehran visit and said they were being reviewed. Countries do not review proposals from people they have permanently walked away from. Thing 2. The nuclear gap is actually bridgeable. America proposed 20 years of no enrichment. Iran said 5. The realistic landing zone is 10 to 12 years with robust international inspection. Both sides have already moved toward each other on this number in Islamabad Round 1. The difference between 10 and 20 is negotiable. The principle is not. Thing 3. Iran needs this deal economically. The blockade has completely halted economic trade going in and out of Iran by sea. Iran is losing $435 million per day. Iran's currency is in freefall. Its military has been degraded. Its supreme leader is dead. The country of 85 million people is enduring hardship that compounds every single day. At some point, economic reality overrides ideology. That point may be approaching. Thing 4. Pakistan is still in the room. Pakistan has a track record in this crisis of achieving the seemingly impossible. Nobody thought a ceasefire would happen on April 7th. It did. Nobody thought face-to-face talks would happen. They did. Pakistan's entire diplomatic credibility now rides on making Round 2 happen. Asim Munir will not let this fall apart without exhausting every option. Here is everything in one place on Monday, April 20th, 2026. Day 51 of the U.S.-Iran war. U.S. Marines boarded and seized an Iranian cargo ship in the Gulf of Oman on Sunday. Iran responded by saying it will not come to Pakistan for talks. The U.S. negotiating team is flying to Islamabad anyway. The ceasefire expires Wednesday in less than 48 hours. Iran's Strait of Hormuz is closed again. Gunboats have fired on ships. Gas prices are about to rise again starting today. Trump has threatened to knock out every single power plant and bridge in Iran if no deal is reached. Iran has warned that any miscalculation by America will trigger final chastisement. Pakistan is locked down and waiting. And somewhere in the gap between what Iran says publicly and what it does privately, the entire fate of this war is being decided. Let me leave you with 2 sentences that tell you everything you need to know about where this stands. Trump said Sunday the deal will happen one way or another, the nice way or the hard way. Iran's National Security Council said Sunday the war must be definitively ended and lasting peace achieved before the strait reopens. Both of those sentences could lead to the same place. Or they could lead to the most dangerous confrontation since the ceasefire began. The next 48 hours will determine which. Subscribe and turn on notifications right now because in this story, everything can change in a single hour. And the next 48 hours are the most important of this entire war.